This is Toasted with Revolution News and Information. I'm joined with DW and his wife. We're going to talk about some events that happened today, but first, I'm going to bring you this article here. Pentagon, World War III almost guaranteed will be fast and lethal. HNGN.com article will be in the description below. But besides that, we've heard some other things. I'm going to pass the floor over.
Judge DW. We're following, I guess, missiles that came up missing on U.S. soil here. They had last night reported that they were at Yellowstone. Now they have moved on to Texas now. And from now, I don't know where they're going, but as of 11 o'clock tonight, Eastern Standard Time, the nuke missiles are now in Texas. So with the DEFCON being at 3, and it's going down even further possibly, and the talks of World War III is likely to happen, and the head honchos, is it? The bigwigs? The secretary, or what is it? The defense secretary and all them, Pentagon, I should say, are in the talks of pushing for a World War III. It's going to come fast and quick. Got to keep their heads up. There's a lot of stuff about the world ending, martial law, this, rounding up the citizens of this corporation, and what have you. This stuff is serious, folks. This is no joke. You know, I mean, you could take it lighthearted and laugh it off, and that's fine. You know, I'm not trying to push and be a crazy person out there. You know, the end of the world's coming, or this is gonna happen, or we're gonna get the mark of the beast, or we're gonna get a chip put in our forehead. You know, this shit's serious. I mean, it sounds funny and all, but you laugh now, and when it happens, who are you gonna start believing then? Just keep it in mind. Be prepared. You know, and we preach about this all the time on these weekly calls. We push this issue. You need to get yourself out of the system. You know, stop playing around with the government. You know, they got some cool little gadgets and tools and what have you, and they got them benefits and privileges that you guys enjoy so much. I understand, you know, you're low income or you get your SSI check takes care of you, and I'm not trying to down anybody about that. You know, I struggle too, and we get support too, but we're cutting ties with that. You know. Slowly but surely, we're going to be done with that. Yes, it's going to be hard, but you know, accepting them benefits, you're in the system. And if you want to avoid all this stuff's real, and they're going to round up everybody and their mother, and they're going to go door to door knocking like they're talking about on the internet. You know, they got Chinese troops and UN soldiers down in Texas right now as we speak, gathering down there. There's local people down there that are putting photos on the internet, showing what's going on. We're having military flybys. You know, the locals are taking pictures of them, posting them on social media. I mean, this stuff, they're getting prepared for something big, and people out there need to keep their heads up and and cautiously be aware of this stuff. We're not trying to do this for, you know, to get publicity or get ratings or, you know, scare you. We're trying to spread the truth. The whole truth and nothing but the truth. You know, I swore in as a continental United States for America Superior Court of Justice, you know, not just because I wanted to or thought it was a fun or a cool title to have. You know, I'm here as a warrior protector on the land to protect we the people, that's including you. And my job here and my duties here are to make sure we the people have rights, you know, guaranteed original organic constitutional rights, and I want to see them be protected, and I'm trying to help everybody and their mother get out of the system and secure them rights, because you being still in the system, 14th Amendment United States citizen, you will never have rights. And you don't believe me, do your own homework. It's out there. United States citizen, a District of Columbia, a citizen of District of Columbia, the United States Corporation, Inc. They own your soul. You will never have rights. You'll have mere responsibilities and privileges. Oh, you had rights in your life. maybe the first few days after you're born, you had rights. They're called your birth rights. As soon as your mom and dad contracted, as soon as they signed you up for that Social Security benefits or Social Security card and that birth certificate, there went your rights. So let's reclaim our rights back. So stand on this land and let's fight this government. I can't do it by myself. Marshall Toasted up here can't do it by itself. My wife, we all can't do it by ourselves. We need to come together, stand up for this country, grow some balls, and let's fight. Peaceably, respectfully, let's stand our ground. And if they want to come back at us, let's stand the ground. Don't back down. Because the minute you back down, you're done. So, you want to talk about that? Well, let's give her a minute because she's going to pull it up. But just to end this, I'm going off on a tangent here. Let me just end this. But like I said, this stuff is getting real. And I just seen pictures down in Texas there that they got 100,000 down, I guess, troops down there established. I don't know if they're all together, UN and Chinese. China's troops are already on the ground here. They're already here. So that's kind of worrisome. That scares the hell out of me. I'm all the way up on Pennsylvania here, and that stuff worries me. So, and then with talks of nuclear bombings, and I understand people are talking about, oh well, nuclear could never hit certain areas that they talk about. You can do all your what is that called? The physics, or what the hell is that called? Scientific facts and stuff. You can put all your scientific facts together. Whether it's nuclear, whether it's just a detonation of a bomb or what have you, or troops come to your door, knocking on your door. This stuff's real. Are you good?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on one sec. I'm going to turn the tables over. Hold on. I got all kinds of stuff open here. Give me 1 second here. I'm going to switch over. All right.
Okay. According to the new executive order coordinating efforts to prepare the nation for space weather events, by the authority vested in me as president by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, and to prepare the nation for space weather events, it is hereby ordered as follows. Section 1, Policy. Space weather events in the form of solar flares, solar energetic particles, and geomagnetic disturbances occur regularly, some with measurable effects on critical infrastructure systems and technologies, such as the Global Positioning System, satellite operations and communication, aviation, and the electrical power grid. Extreme space weather events, those that could significantly degrade critical infrastructure, could disable large portions of the electrical power grid, resulting in cascading failures that would affect key services such as water supply, health care, and transportation. Space weather has the potential to simultaneously affect and disrupt health and safety across entire continents. Successfully preparing for space weather events is an all-of-nation endeavor that requires partnerships across governments, emergency managers, academia, the media, the insurance industry, nonprofits, and the private sector. It is the policy of the United States to prepare for space weather events to minimize the extent of economic loss and human hardship. The federal government must have 1, the capability to predict and detect a space weather event, 2, the plans and programs necessary to alert the public and private sectors to enable mitigating actions for an impending space weather event, 3, the protection and mitigation plans, protocols, and standards required to reduce risk to critical infrastructures prior to and during a credible threat, and 4, the ability to respond to and recover from the effects of space weather. Executive departments and agencies must coordinate their efforts to prepare for the effects of space weather events. Section 2, Objectives. This order defines agency roles and responsibilities and directs agencies to take specific actions to prepare the nation for the hazardous effects of space weather. These activities are to be implemented in conjunction with those identified in the 2015 National Space Weather Action Plan and any subsequent updates. Implementing this order and the action plan will require the federal government to work across agencies and to develop as appropriate, enhanced, and innovative partnerships with state, tribal, and local governments, academia, nonprofits, the private sector, and international partners. These efforts will enhance national preparedness and speed the creation of a space weather ready nation. Section 3, Coordination. A, the Director of the Office of Science and Technology Policy, in consultation with the Assistant to the President for Homeland Security and Counterterrorism and the Director of the Office of Management and Budget, shall coordinate the development and implementation of federal government activities to prepare the nation for space weather events, including the activities established in Section 5 of this order and the recommendations of the National Science and Technology Council, established by Executive Order 12881 of November 23, 1993, the establishment of the National Science and Technology Council. B, to ensure accountability for and coordination of research, development, and implementation of activities identified in this order and in the action plan, the NSTC shall establish a space weather operations, research, and mitigation subcommittee. The subcommittee member agencies shall conduct activities to advance the implementation of this order. To achieve the goals identified in the 2015 National Space Weather Strategy and any subsequent updates, and to coordinate and monitor the implementation of the activities specified in the action plan and provide subsequent updates. Section 4, Rules and Responsibilities. To the extent permitted by law, the agencies below shall adopt the following rules and responsibilities, which are key to ensuring enhanced space weather forecasting, situational awareness, space weather preparedness, and continuous federal government operations during and after space weather events. A, the Secretary of Defense shall ensure the timely provision of operational space weather observations, analysis, forecast, and other products to support the mission of the Department of Defense and coalition partners, including the provision of alerts and warnings for space weather phenomena that may affect weapon systems, military operations, or the defense of the United States. B, the Secretary of the Interior shall support the research, development, deployment, and operation of capabilities that enhance the understanding of variations of the Earth's magnetic field associated with solar terrestrial interactions. C, the Secretary of Commerce shall 1, provide timely and accurate operational space weather forecasts, watches, warnings, alerts, and real-time space weather monitoring for the government, civilian, and commercial sectors, exclusive of the responsibilities of the Secretary of Defense, and 2, to ensure the continuous improvement of operational space weather services, utilizing partnerships as appropriate with the research community, including academia and the private sector, and relevant agencies to develop, validate, test, and transition space weather observation platforms and models from research to operations and from operations to research. D, the Secretary of Energy shall facilitate the protection and restoration of the reliability of the electrical power grid during a presidentially declared grid security emergency associated with a geomagnetic disturbance pursuant to 16 U.S.C. 8240-1. E, the Secretary of Homeland Security shall, 1, ensure the timely redistribution of space weather alerts and warnings that support national preparedness, continuity of government, and continuity of operations. And 2, coordinate response and recovery from the effects of space weather events on critical infrastructure and the broader community. F, the Administrator of the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, also known as NASA, shall, 1, implement and support a national research program to understand the sun and its interactions with Earth and the solar system to advance space weather modeling and prediction capabilities applicable to space weather forecasting. 2, develop and operate space weather related research missions, instrument capabilities, and models. And 3, support the transition of space weather models and technology from research to operations and from operations to research. G, the Director of the National Science Foundation shall support fundamental research linked to societal needs for space weather information through investments and partnerships as appropriate. H, the Secretary of State, in consultation with the heads of relevant agencies, shall carry out diplomatic and public diplomacy efforts to strengthen global capacity to respond to space weather events. I, the Secretaries of Defense, the Interior, Commerce, Transportation, Energy, and Homeland Security, along with the Administrator of NASA and the Director of NSF, shall work together consistent with their ongoing activities to develop models, observation systems, technologies, and approaches that inform and enhance national preparedness for the effects of space weather events, including how space weather events may affect critical infrastructure and change the threat landscape with respect to other hazards. J, the heads of all agencies that support national essential functions defined by Presidential Policy Directive 40, PPD-40, of July 15, 2016, national continuity policy
and even on the news screen. Let's get
shall
over to
ensure
spaceweathernews.com
that
and
space
find the
weather
last day on our
events
star
are
wasn't without activity, but none of that activity was
adequately
major.
addressed
Couple eruptions
in
off
their
the rim, but
all
we're
hazards
not having any solar
preparedness
flaring above
planning,
minor C-class flares,
including
and the sunspots have no
mitigation,
magnetic complexity,
response,
unlikely
and
to fire.
recovery
With
as
solar flares
directed by
aside, we will watch the northern incoming sunspot as
PPD-8
the filament arch
of
there is
March
very close
30th,
to the umbra.
2011. National Preparedness. K. NSTC member agencies shall coordinate through the NSTC to establish roles and responsibilities beyond those identified in Section 4 of this order to enhance space weather preparedness consistent with each agency's legal authority. Section 5, Implementation. A. Within 120 days of the date of this order, the Secretary of Energy, in consultation with the Secretary of Homeland Security, shall develop a plan to test and evaluate available devices that mitigate the effects of geomagnetic disturbances on the electrical power grid through the development of a pilot program that deploys such devices in situ in the electrical power grid. After the development of the plan, the Secretary shall implement the plan in collaboration with industry. In taking action pursuant to this subsection, the Secretaries of Energy and Homeland Security shall consult with the Chairman of the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. B. Within 120 days of the date of this order, the heads of the sector-specific agencies that oversee the lifeline critical infrastructure functions as defined by the National Infrastructure Protection Plan of 2013, including communications, energy, transportation, and water and wastewater systems, as well as the nuclear reactors, materials, and waste sector, shall assess their executive and statutory authority and limits of that authority to direct, suspend, or control critical infrastructure operations, functions, and services before, during, and after a space weather event. The heads of each sector-specific agency shall provide a summary of these assessments to the subcommittee. C. Within 90 days of receipt of the assessments ordered in Section 5B of this order, the subcommittee shall provide a report on the findings of these assessments with recommendations to the Director of OSTP, the Assistant to the President for Homeland Security and Counterterrorism, and the Director of OMB. The assessments may be used to inform the development and implementation of policy establishing authorities and responsibilities for agencies in response to a space weather event. D. Within 60 days of the date of this order, the Secretaries of Defense and Commerce, the Administrator of NASA, and the Director of NSF, in collaboration with other agencies as appropriate, shall identify mechanisms for advancing space weather observations, models, and predictions, and for sustaining and transitioning appropriate capabilities from research to operations and operations to research, collaborating with industry and academia to the extent possible. E. Within 120 days of the date of this order, the Secretaries of the Defense and Commerce shall make historical data from the GPS constellation and other U.S. government satellites publicly available in accordance with Executive Order 13642 of May 9th, 2013, making open and machine readable the new default for government information. To enhance model validation and improvements in space weather forecasting and situational awareness. F, within 120 days of the date of this order, the Secretary of Homeland Security, through the Administrator of the Federal Emergency Management Agency, and in coordination with relevant agencies, shall lead the development of a coordinated federal operating concept and associated checklist to coordinate federal assets and activities to respond to notification of and protect against impending space weather events. Within 180 days of the publication of the operating concept and checklist, agencies shall develop operational plans documenting their procedures and responsibilities to prepare for, protect against, and mitigate the effects of impending space weather events in support of the federal operating concept and compatible with the national preparedness system described in PPD-8. Section 6, Stakeholder Engagement. The agencies identified in this order shall seek public, private, and international collaborations to enhance observation networks, conduct research, develop prediction models and mitigation approaches, enhance community resilience and preparedness, and supply the services necessary to protect life and property and promote economic prosperity as consistent with law. Section 7, definitions as used in this order. A, prepare and preparedness have the same meaning they have in PPD-8. They refer to the actions taken to plan, organize, equip, train, and exercise to build and sustain the capabilities necessary to prevent, protect against, mitigate the effects of, respond to, and recover from those threats that pose the greatest risk to the security of the nation. This includes the prediction and notification of space weather events. B, space weather means variations in the space environment between the sun and Earth and throughout the solar system that can affect technologies in space and on Earth. The primary types of space weather events are solar flares, solar energetic particles, and geomagnetic disturbances. C, solar flare means a brief eruption of intense energy on or near the sun's surface that is typically associated with sunspots. D, solar energetic particles means ions and electrons ejected from the sun that are typically associated with solar eruptions. E, geomagnetic disturbance means a temporary disturbance of Earth's magnetic field resulting from solar activity. F, critical infrastructure has the meaning provided in Section 1016E of the U.S. Patriot Act of 2001, 42 U.S.C. 5195C, namely systems and assets, whether physical or virtual, so vital to the United States that the incapacity or destruction of such systems and assets would have a debilitating impact on security, national economic security, national public health or safety, or any combination of those matters. G, sector-specific agency means the agencies designated under PPD-21 of February 12th, 2013, Critical Infrastructure Security and Resilience, or any successor directive to be responsible for providing institutional knowledge and specialized expertise, as well as leading, facilitating, or supporting the security and resilience programs and associated activities of its designated critical infrastructure sector in the all hazards environment, Section 8, General Provisions. A, nothing in this order shall be construed to impair or otherwise affect 1, the authority granted by law to an agency or to the head thereof, or 2, the functions of the director of OMB relating to budgetary, administrative, or legislative proposals. B, this order shall be implemented consistent with applicable law and subject to the availability of operations. C, this order is not intended to and does not create any right or benefit, substantive or procedural, enforceable at law or in equity by any part against the United States, its departments, agencies, or entities, its officers, employees, or agents, or any other person. Barack Obama, The White House, October 13th, 2016. Over to you, Toasted. What? Sorry, still catching my breath from the long read.
I said, what stands out in that article the most?
The one that stands out to me would be the fact that they are talking about the nation's health. The fact that they are bringing in weather, nation space weather event. And the only thing that comes to my mind, thinking of the fact that he made an executive order regarding space weather events, is the fact that there has been jets, a lot more jets, flying above our heads in the past week or two than we've seen in quite a long time.
Yeah, it's like an unconfirmed report out of San Diego about an air raid siren and jet scrambling, and that will stay unconfirmed. What else have we heard and observed?
Let's see. We also heard that there is ships as well as submarines coming from Russia overseas on their way towards us.
Oh yeah, the massive movement of the naval fleet from Russia.
We have also noticed over the past 2 days a lot of people complaining about their computers, internets running extremely slow and lagging or not working at all.
Some websites have actually had that issue too.
Yes.
Give us a second while we gather our bearings, but I feel like I'm missing something. Can't put my finger on it. Anyway, that.
I'm gonna turn this over to Judge DW.
All right.
Now, I want to put something in here now in regards to the executive order and what I guess I want to say my wife and Melissa were talking about earlier. More or less, I'm thinking here is, and it sounds pretty relevant too to address this. What if they're talking about these solar flares and particles and whatever happening, bringing out to space, and then also mentioning about Homeland and anti-terrorist departments and what have you getting involved? I'm starting to assume here is, and what they talked about earlier, is the government may be disabling our communication altogether, whether it be your electrical grids and what have you being disabled, where their citizens have nowhere else to turn to but them. I think it's a tactic to implement like a martial law. I wouldn't be surprised if the visits to door-to-door visits to the people pan out where they'll offer a so-called camp to go to retreat, and thus, keeping track of them. Maybe that mark of the beast that the Bible talks about, the chip that gets put into the individual skin to track them. Just things of food for thought that you want to think about. Okay, why would they be bringing an executive order talking about space particles and flares and what have you, when we've been dealing with that for years, if not hundreds of years, and just now they just issued it with all the other animosity and chaos that's been going on lately. Just things that make you go, and that'd be the best way to scare the people into martial law. Total lockdown.
I think that's all we're going to cover for right now. But keep your eyes on the Facebook page for sure, as we've been dropping a lot of information and news over there. Be a good idea to keep an eye on your weather reports in the coming days. Watch the Weather Channel a lot. Only pay attention to the weather and the movement of the airfields, because if a nuclear detonation goes off, that's the only weather report you're going to have, and you're going to have to guess where everything's going to be headed, and almost do your own forecast like they did back in the day. Now, if there is nuclear devices that go off, one thing you should know is stay hunkered down for 2 weeks. Basically, make sure you've got enough to eat for 2 weeks. Stock up on some red wine. Get some iodine. Stuff like that. Prepare now. Because tomorrow may be just another normal day, and the next maybe not. So everybody should probably start making sure they got at least enough supplies for at least 2 weeks to a month, maybe longer. Up to y'all though. But anyway, this is Toasted and DW, and we're gonna sign off so we can get this information out to you. And the executive order will also be in the description below as number 2. Peace.